Hello, and welcome to Useful Idiots. I'm one of your hosts, Katie Halper.
And I'm Aaron Maté. Good morning, Katie.
Good morning.
Good morning to all fellow mourners.
Yes, all Monday mourners. And make sure, guys, that you share the word about this important stream. Tweet it out, Facebook it out. Also, like the stream right now. Whatever you're doing, just give a like. And also, we're going to be taking your calls at 11 a.m. on Callin, which is that free app. So just join us there right after this, because we know you can't get enough of us with 1 hour.
No, but Katie, listen, let's address the elephant in the room. This is a special show and possibly a historic show because it's our first show after the cancellation of Brian Stelter.
Right.
And people are watching from around the world to see if we still got it without our foundation, our rock.
Yeah, our rock,
Brian Stelter.
Right. This is our first PBS show, post Brian Stelter show.
Post Brian Stelter, exactly. Yeah. Let's see. I don't know. I'm shaking in my boots personally. I'm not sure if we can do it.
I'm shook. Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, should we just jump into it? Should we just jump into our first stream?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. And again, we of course invite you to like, so I don't have to pause the stream to shame people into liking. But all right, let's see. The Dems struggling. Of course. What are they struggling with? With something good that they actually did. Let's take a look.
Start, Peter, with the decision by President Biden to cancel the student debt. And I say decision. What's interesting is it was months to get him to this.
Yeah.
Here we are, and it is Democrats that are divided amongst themselves about whether this was a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's right. So some progressives obviously wanted it to be $50,000. Tim Ryan, up for the Senate seat in Ohio right now, is basically saying, this is the wrong decision. You don't need to be helping.
Let me put up the names. I mean, it's a who's who of some Democrats on the ballot right now that have hit it. You mentioned Ryan, sends the wrong message. Michael Bennet doesn't solve the underlying problem. Catherine Cortez Masto doesn't address the root problem. Jared Golin's in a swing district in Maine. Chris Pappas, swing district in New Hampshire. Anybody in a swing district or a swing state didn't seem to love this.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, this is going to cost $250 billion to $550 billion, depending who you talk to right now. Even Goldman Sachs says that it won't be inflationary, but it's a challenging message for the Democrats to sort of defend right now in front of a lot of people, working class Americans who they say they're benefiting here. There's some new ads that are out already running in parts of the country where you see, a mechanic and you see others basically saying,
you're like playing producer for me. Let me show the ad. Let's instead of you describing it, let's play it.
Good.
I'm breaking my back out here for one reason.
I want to pay off some other guy's debt.
Biden's plan to pay other people's college loans using my tax dollars is a great idea.
Biden's right. You should take my tax dollars to pay off your debts. My family will figure out how to get by with less.
Okay, so that's some right-wing ad. And there are a couple things I want to point out. One is, those people in videos like that, they do sometimes go to college. And they have kids who go to college. David Sirota points out one of the most elitist things is the idea that people who are blue-collar workers don't have any college debt.
And how do we also know that those people aren't actors? Are those confirmed?
They may be. I think they're actors.
Yeah,
I think they're actors. Yeah.
It's they give an actor vibe to me.
They do give an actor vibe. Yeah.
Playing working class people.
Yeah.
Not that actors can't be working class.
Of course, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I have the solution to the Democrats' internal strife. They could just approve it. They can just put up another $40 billion to fund the military-industrial complex in Ukraine. Then everyone can be on board, and nobody will raise a peep. It won't be it won't be controversial.
No, it won't be controversial. The country will be united behind it. Yeah. And that's such a bullshit talking point, which is that it doesn't solve the root cause. You want to talk about revamping our education system. That's great. Making public school education more affordable. That's also great. But it's such bullshit. And in the meantime, would you like to help any of the people? No.
Yeah. And does every other legislation solve the root cause?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, this is a strange standard to apply to this one thing that happens to help struggling people who aren't huge donors and corporations.
Yeah. They're like, will this end the problems of late capitalism? I'm waiting for them to pull that one out because they're just such disingenuous, ridiculous talking points. Also, Alfie Mendo, I just want to highlight this because I don't know about this, so I'm going to look into this. Alfie Mendo writes, 52 years ago today, an LA sheriff's gang killed Ruben Salazar, a prominent Chicano journalist, during the Chicano moratorium protest. Keep resisting. I'll look into that. Never heard of that story, so sounds important. Thanks, Alfie, for the chat, super chat, but also for raising awareness around that. So let's take a look. And Michael Bennett sucks. Like, all those people suck. All those centrists absolutely suck. And I say that it breaks my heart because when I went to Wesleyan, the president was Doug Bennett, Michael's father. I should really recuse myself from all segments dealing at all with Michael Bennett.
Michael Bennett, yeah, sure. That's a huge conflict of interest.
It's a huge conflict of interest, yeah. So let's take a look at some of these Democrats struggling with this message. The first one being Tim Ryan.
You tweeted, quote, student debt is out of control.
Wait, sorry.
Congressman, in 2018, you tweeted, quote, student debt is out of control. If we can bail out the banks who did everything wrong, we can help out the students who did everything right. Isn't that what President Biden's policy is trying to do?
Again, I mean, we're not saying that there's not a significant burden here. The cost of college is outrageous, but there's nothing in here to control that cost. And again, I think we can get a significant way down the road by allowing them to renegotiate down the interest rates and put some money into their pocket. And again, there's a lot of other people out here that are doing everything right as well. So if it's part of a broader package, we could certainly talk about it. That's why I think a tax cut for all working people, or medical debt, which isn't directly linked to somebody who goes to college. I mean,
when I said we should cancel student debt, I really meant we should renegotiate the interest rate that they pay on that student debt,
right,
so that they aren't being ripped off as much as they were before, just slightly less. That's pretty much what he's trying to argue now.
Yeah, he sucks. Remember, he was the guy who was like, why do we have to be so loud? Stop being so loud. He made bumper stickers that said that because Bernie, he's like, enough shouting during the Democratic debates. What a loser.
What a loser. Well, let's see what else he's got to say.
I think we've got to have a broader package here, and I would certainly support something like that, but I think the general tax cut's the best way to go.
You are
medical debt, something that doesn't go, why should we? I mean, obviously medical debt should be canceled also, but these are just such false, disingenuous arguments.
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever heard a politician say that because it doesn't address the root cause, which of course they don't actually want to address, because what solutions are they really proposing to address those root causes, that then we shouldn't do anything at all. I mean, they're basically arguing for doing nothing.
It's kind of like but will it end racism? Will it end sexism?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was Hillary, right? When Bernie was talking about breaking up the big banks, breaking up the big banks won't end racism.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, breaking up the big banks and racism? No.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, forget it then.
Make a remix of it. Yeah, forget it. Yeah. I'm sure that the black people who were disproportionately hurt by that appreciate her sentiment.
Yeah, who disproportionately lost their homes thanks to Obama.
Yeah.
I'm sure they appreciate keeping those big banks intact.
Yeah. Yeah. But precisely because they will not end all racism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go. We got it. Now we have a different take on student debt coming from Bernard.
Heard Senator Blunt right there. He said this program is unfair. It's going to hurt the economy.
Well, he's wrong. 60% of the benefits go to people who are on Pell Grants. 87% of the benefits go to people who are making $75,000 a year. Look, I know it is shocking, George, to some Republicans that the government actually, on occasion, does something to benefit working families and low-income people. I don't hear any of these Republicans squawking when we give massive tax breaks to billionaires, when we have an effective tax rate today, such that the 1% have a lower effective tax rate than working people, where major corporations in a given year don't pay a nickel in federal taxes. That's okay. But suddenly when we do something for working people, it is a terrible idea. I was in Boston last week and I was talking to nurses, and these nurses were telling me that they are working in some cases 2 jobs, outrageous hours, partly in order to pay for the student debts that they have accumulated. So in my view, the president did the right thing. And we have got to be really thinking about higher education in general. And in my view, at a time when hundreds of thousands of bright young people can't even afford to go to college, if we're going to be competitive in a global economy, we need to make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
See, he's talking about addressing root causes.
Right. In addition.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, not instead of.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we know he's being genuine, because he wants both.
Yep.
And he's been also working around the other one for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. When Bernie's gone, you know, there's going to be
goes. If
well, at a certain point, Katie, you know,
I don't know.
It's
I mean, I
time.
am known to think that I am known as a diehard Bernie fan, so maybe I think he literally will walk on water when the time comes.
Well, okay, let's say if Bernie goes, then you know, there'll be a big dearth of sanity on these Sunday shows, because he can get on pretty much whenever he wants to, and there's no one else like that.
Right.
And you know, obviously, I have my criticisms of Bernie. He voted for the Ukraine proxy war bill, for example, but on these issues, he's really stands apart, and everyone else has the exact same message. They're either opposed to sensible things like student debt relief, or they're like, oh, well, you know, it's nuanced.
Right. Right. It's nuance. Yeah, it's nuance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bernie doesn't address. Oh no, I didn't mean to show that one. Don't speak that evil into the world, Aaron.
Sorry.
About Bernie being gone. Yeah. All right. Let's see. All right. So what do we got next? We got, shifting gears a bit, right? We got oh, this is a good one. So we got some drama coming out from Biden. Let's go to Governor Kristen Sununu of New Hampshire, Republican, on CNN on State of the Union.
Governor, I want to ask about something that President Biden said during remarks at a closed DNC reception this past week. He criticized what he called a, quote, extreme MAGA philosophy in your party. He said, quote, it's almost like semi-fascism. Do you see semi-fascism in your party at all?
Horribly insulting. I mean, the fact that the president would go out and just insult half of America, because effectively half America votes Republican, half of America ultimately votes Democrat. You know, it swings a little bit one way or the other, but effectively call half of America semi-fascist because he's trying to stir up controversy. He's trying to stir up this anti-Republican sentiment right before the election. It's horribly inappropriate. It's insulting, and people should be insulted by it, and he should apologize.
So you don't see any elements of that at all in your party?
Look, you can see elements of fascism and white supremacy all in America. Let's own that as Americans. There's no doubt. And we could say that all the Democrats are communists. They're all ultra-socialist.
I like that. He's like, look, it's an American value, white supremacy and fascism, not just Republican. Yeah, and of course, someone just points out, which is important, no half of America doesn't vote, which is true. So it doesn't represent half of the country. It represents part of the voting population of the country. And Biden's talking about the MAGA people, not all of Republicans.
I mean, is the issue here with the word semi? Like, what if it was, you know, quarter, halvesy or mini fascist? Could they accept that? Look, I mean, my problem is I see fascism in everybody. You know, I see fascism in blue. I see fascism in red. I mean, certainly foreign policy wise, the U.S. imposing its hegemony on foreign governments and making people starve with sanctions that crush their economy. That's fascist.
It's fascism outward.
Yeah, corporations are inherently a fascist institution. Top-down control, no democracy, huge control over major decisions that impact everyone's lives. So, I mean, I think semi or mini or full. I mean, look, everyone needs to look in the mirror.
Engorged fascism. Yeah, could be all those. Yeah. All right, let's rewind a little bit and then keep playing the rest.
See, in America, let's own that as Americans. There's no doubt. And we could say that, you know, all the Democrats are communists. They're all ultra-socialist communists that just want to bring down our free capitalistic market. That's not true of Democrats either. So when we allow ourselves just to talk in these extremes, we polarize the country. We bring people bring people further apart. If I remember, this was the guy, the candidate at the time to be president that said he was going to bring everybody together, and then to call half of America fascists. Come on, he owes an apology.
Semi-fascist, sir. I called them semi-fascist.
Yeah. Stop exaggerating. You're the one who's now creating controversy.
Yeah.
Took out the semi.
Yeah.
I can't believe you now.
Yeah. When he says, Biden's speaking in extremes, I mean, this is where I think Biden probably saw 2 moves ahead. He's like, nope, sorry, I said semi. Okay. Yeah. I didn't say full. I said semi.
Yeah. Not FOF, not full on fascist. Semi-fascist. Yeah. Yeah.
I think Biden got him.
I think Biden nailed him. Yeah. That's Biden did not get Sununu. Sununu got Biden.
I mean, look, everything Biden says is workshopped, right? Obviously, there's teams of people working on his statements 24 hours a day.
Well, not everything. He gaffes.
Well, yeah, except for his gaffes.
Yeah.
But this was prepared. And so I bet they workshopped this for a long time. And there was probably some people in the room who were like, let's say full fascist.
Yeah.
And finally, someone, maybe it was Biden himself, said, I got it. Semi.
I got it. Semi. Yeah.
We'll say semi.
Light bulb goes off. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Then,
I like that.
Everyone cried and started making out and taking shots because it was so brilliant. And they got it.
Yeah. Sounds like a West Wing episode to me. Yeah. All righty. What do we got next? So that's the Republican response. Plus, I didn't want to go overboard. There was also a Karl Rove clip from Fox News where he also gets mad. But let's see what Jamie Harrison, chairman of the DNC, had to say about it.
Earlier this week, the president referred to the MAGA, Make America Great agenda, as almost like, quote, semi-fascism. You heard the president's inaugural address the same way I did. In that inaugural address, President Biden said, we should not view each other as adversaries in this country, but as neighbors, and we should treat each other with dignity and respect. How does semi-fascism, as a label for the Republican Party, fit with that inaugural address?
Well, the one thing that President Joe Biden has always been consistent. And he has always been somebody who does what my grandfather used to do, which is speak it plain, say it plain to the American people.
I mean, can you really say that Joe Biden has been speaking it plain?
No.
When he's constantly making gaffes and not even remembering what he's saying?
Well, I kind of think that maybe that is speaking it plain for him.
When he screws up.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, that's maybe speaking of plain. But this is,
This isn't,
Yeah, but did we lose the clip? I think we still, or is that it?
Was that it, Wilson?
Yeah, that was the whole thing, but we got more Jamie.
Yeah.
That was a quickie.
Guys. Yeah, that was a quickie.
That was a quickie.
A quickie on semi.
Yeah, quickie on semi.
Yeah. All right, so let's now we're going to hear more from Jamie. And this is interesting because we have a real correction, media correction in real time in response to this clip. So let's take a listen. Let's take a listen and a view, and then we'll show you how they tweeted it out and then apologized.
Chairman, the president took pains to highlight abortion as an issue in the midterm elections this week. When you think about the history of these midterm elections, when that history is written, will abortion or the economy be more important?
I think abortion is going to be extremely important. And because, the reason why so many people come to America is because we are the land of freedom. It's liberty and justice for all. And abortion is about privacy and freedom. Freedom of women to control their own bodies. For the first time in 50 years, these extreme MAGA Republicans have chipped away at our freedom that we've had as American people. And women are upset about it. Men are upset about it. And you're seeing it in special election after special election. You saw it in Kansas, that people are rising up because they know it's a slippery slope. You take away privacy and freedom rights. You're chipping away at voting rights. You're going after people's freedom of speech. I mean, that is not who America is. But that's who the MAGA extremists in the Republican parties want America to be. Joe Biden is standing in that gap and saying, you will not do this. You will not do. President Joe Biden is there. You will not do this on my watch. It's about protecting freedom. And that's what the Democratic Party is doing each and every day.
So it's interesting. He's really embracing kind of framing abortion as a freedom issue. They're trying to be almost like, don't tread on me about abortion. And okay, so what do you think? He asked which was more important, the economy or abortion. What from that did you get?
I just got that he just defends freedom.
Right. Pro freedom. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, what is he talking about? Free speech. Where are the attacks on free speech?
Well, that's interesting because actually just this week, I mean, this is why if I were Democrats, I wouldn't really talk about free speech because just this week, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, he was on Joe Rogan. He was on Joe Rogan and he's like, yeah, so the FBI like told us not to like let anyone read anything about Hunter Biden's laptop because they said it might be Russian disinformation. So we complied. And yeah, that's good. Like we kind of suppressed a story based on government censorship. But yeah, anyway. And that wasn't actually talked about at all this week on the Sunday news show. It's kind of a big deal.
It is kind of a big deal.
The FBI got involved in suppressing a story about a political candidate's son, you know, which could have impacted the election in 2020. But we don't really talk about that because that's the kind of attack on free speech that the U.S. media generally supports because it comes from the FBI.
Right, and then they pivot. If they bring that up, they pivot away to, well, why does that story matter anyway? So it's no longer about whether or not the FBI should be like censoring Facebook. It becomes, well, why do you think that's an important story?
Well, you know, that's where I think that's what the argument they should make. Like, let the story be out there. Right. For example, I don't think Hunter Biden's corruption was that out of the ordinary. It's just pretty standard Washington fare. So if I were them, that's what I would just say is like, yeah, okay, Hunter Biden was trading on his family name to get some money. Okay, everyone does it. That's what their defense should be. But instead, they're trying to suppress it and lie that it comes from Russia, which, again, and everyone in the media went along with it, haven't really pondered the implications of that, which is basically letting unelected national security state bureaucrats decide what the media can and cannot report. It's strange.
Right. Yeah. Scary times. But maybe he thinks what was he talking about? Abortion is freedom. What's the other thing he talked about being freedom? Voting rights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, could have left it at that.
Yeah.
To me, I'm just like, where's the freedom of speech that you're defending? Because I don't see the Democrats doing that too much. Sadly.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, here's what's interesting. Okay, let's take a look at this tweet. Can you show us the tweet? So a previous version of this tweet mischaracterized DNC chair Jamie Harrison's answer. So the previous version of this tweet, and then we got to show the actual tweet, but this is how Face the Nation initially tweeted out. Well, okay, yeah, go up all the way. Well, no, leave it here. Sorry. Go down. All right. So initially when they tweet out this clip, they said, after last Tuesday's primaries, DNC chair Jamie Harrison argues that issues like abortion, not the economy, will matter more to voters in November's midterms. Now, they said that this was a mischaracterization of what he said, and they reframed it like this. If you could just scroll up all the way. DNC chair Jamie Harrison said, we already played this clip, so we don't need to play it. DNC chair Jamie Harrison said abortion will be an extremely important issue for the Democrats in November's midterms. Quote, abortion is about privacy and freedom of women to control their own bodies, end quote. So they went from summarizing what he had said, I think pretty fairly, to can we look at that again? They went from summarizing it. Can we look at that tweet? They went from summarizing it to quoting him.
Okay.
Which is pretty different, in my opinion. But I would have loved to have been on that phone call when they asked him that, when he complained.
So you don't think he was mischaracterized?
I think maybe a little mischaracterized, but the question was, which is more important? And he just spoke about abortion. Now, to be fair, it was a stupid oversimplification question. But I think that there's a middle ground between, you can quote someone, of course, but it just seems like a little bit of a one extreme or the other.
Well, and everyone's looking for that moderate middle.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yep. Especially Katie Halper and
that's right.
Idiots. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got some. Oh yeah, remember the proxy war in Ukraine? That whole thing.
I think we should just play this full clip on this.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
beginning.
So so we have on Meet the Press, James Stavridis. He's the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, and Michael McFaul, who's the former U.S. Ambassador to Russia, now professor at Stanford. And what they never mention is when you have on former military officials, and Matt Taibbi's written about this a lot, is who they currently work for now. So what they don't mention is that Stavridis is on the advisory board for something called Beacon Global Strategies, whose clients include Raytheon. He's also the vice president for the private equity giant, the Carlyle Group, which has a long history of ties to the military-industrial complex, but they don't mention that part when speaking to people like him.
Actually, before we play this clip, can we show this tweet just to remind people of who McFaul is? If we can show this tweet that I put in there, it's 7A, Wilson. And this is a great moment in time when McFaul was on the Maddow show. All right, so here, if we zoom in on a little bit. All right, so this is, let's scroll down to to this tweet. Okay, so this is McFaul on Maddow saying one difference between Putin and Hitler is that Hitler didn't kill ethnic Germans. German-speaking people. Okay, hold on. One difference between Putin and Hitler is that Hitler didn't kill ethnic Germans. German-speaking people. Putin slaughters the very people he said he has come to liberate. Now, that is something that he said on the Rachel Maddow show. It's not. There's no video there. Okay, that's something he said that the Maddow blog thought was tweetable. Scroll up, please. Then they had to elaborate thusly. Scroll up, please. The historical record is clear. Hitler killed millions of Germans. We tweeted out part of an inaccurate statement made last night by former Ambassador Michael McFaul without attribution, and we regret doing so. We have since removed the tweet. So their apology is for tweeting out one difference between Putin and Hitler is that Hitler didn't kill ethnic Germans, German-speaking people. Putin slaughters the very people he said he has come to liberate. Now, what they should have done was tweeted that out, put that in quotation marks, done a hyphen, and said Holocaust denier Michael McFaul. Because that is a very stupid thing to say about the Holocaust. Because clearly Hitler did kill ethnic Germans and German-speaking people. I mean, a lot of the Jews that they killed in Germany were German-speaking. And it actually kind of is a weirdly anti-Semitic trope, the idea that they're not ethnically German.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, McFaul has so many great hits. There was a time, remember when he DM'd someone who was like randomly making fun of him on Twitter? And he's like, I have a job for life at the best university in the world. I live in a giant house in paradise. I make $1 million a year. And the person published a screenshot. So he's full of great moments.
Yeah. I think that was Josh Olson of West Wing fame.
Oh, really?
I think so. We'll have to go back. Yeah, I think that's who it was, but we'll go back and correct the record if it wasn't, but I think it was, yeah. So that's who we're dealing with. This guy, can you imagine you still have a job on TV on MSNBC after saying shit like that? And he even doubled down, but that was just one of the many examples of the Putin, worse than Hitler motif attacks that we've seen, which is great because what are you supposed to not do with Hitler? Negotiate, because that's capitulation. That's Chamberlain, that's Munich. Anyway.
All right. Well, so let's see what these guys I mean, we really turned the audience against these guests already before even hearing from them. So,
I know.
Kind of unfair, but hey.
Really unfair because I think they were going to love them, but for that intro.
We have to deliver context, people. Yeah. We're here for.
Yeah.
Welcome back. A team from the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, is set to visit that endangered nuclear power plant in Ukraine this week. Fighting around the plant has sparked fears of a nuclear catastrophe, and people in the region are now being given iodine pills to help prevent radiation-induced cancers in case of a nuclear disaster. What was supposed to be a lightning-fast Russian military victory, of course, has run into a ferocious Ukrainian defense, and it has now turned into a bloody stalemate on the front lines after 6 months of war. So joining me now are former NATO Supreme Allied Commander James Stavridis and former U.S. Ambassador to Russia, Michael McFaul. Gentlemen are experts on this, in this area.
See, again, you really should have to mention that the guy is sitting on the boards or works for companies that consult for people who profit off of this proxy war. You got to at least mention that. It's a bit awkward, but you got to say it.
Yeah, you got to say it. Yeah.
Or put it up on the screen or something.
Yeah, in the Chiron.
Yeah.
Now, Aaron, you make an important point, but the following is much more important, which is that look at the way Savridis just embraces the bald versus McFall, who does the hairpiece.
Oh, well, I mean, listen, I don't like hair talk, Katie. And we don't know. We don't even know if McFall's wearing a hairpiece.
Yeah, we should make a. I'm willing to bet a lot that he is, but you're right.
I like hair talk when we make fun of people who have a lot of follicles.
Right. I understand. I like
and
that.
They put in a lot of
very
mousse.
Ethical. Right.
And we can make fun of the mousse.
Right. Too much mousse. Yeah.
Too much.
That's fair. That's fair. You're like, that right. That's very Davidian. That's very Larry David. I like that rule.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's hear what they have to say.
All right.
Appreciate having you both. Jim, let me start with you and Zaporizhia and the nuclear plant. We've talked about this before. At what point is there no longer hope that Russia and Ukraine work this out, but that the United States or NATO needs to step in and protect this plant?
Chuck is just looking for any excuse for the U.S. to directly intervene rather than just covertly intervening by shipping off weapons and choosing targets. Now, finally, since we're on the brink of a nuclear disaster, can this be the thing that can finally get us directly involved in a war with a nuclear power?
Yeah.
To just really make this wholesome? That's what he's saying.
Can't we get a little bit more out of this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like we've almost threatened a nuclear disaster. So let's then use that to justify a direct conflict between two nuclear powers.
Let's punch it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're getting closer by the day, Chuck. Unfortunately, what really concerns me here is the fact that we don't have to imagine how bad this can be. It happened in 1986 in Chernobyl. It happened about a decade ago in Fukushima, Japan. We're looking at billions and billions of dollars, potentially thousands of lives, if this core is breached due to, in this case, an act of war. So the good news here, Chuck, is that the IAEA, you mentioned a moment ago, appears close to getting a mission, potentially led, by the way, by the head of the IAEA, an esteemed scientist himself, into the plant. But so far, the Russians are dug in here, and they've got three things they want. They want to use this nuclear plant as a sanctuary to conduct attacks. They want to cut off 20% of Ukraine's electricity.
Right.
And above all, they want to scare the Europeans. They want a cloud to hang over European thinking on this, pun intended.
Right.
Pun intended.
Okay, quick question. I'm not a Risk player. I've never actually played it, so I don't know. But is it a thing where if you play Risk, you have to then put up the board on your wall, just as kind of like you've killed some game and you put,
like a moose head,
like a moose head.
Yeah, it is.
So I won Risk. I put the board up on the wall. I get to do that.
Yeah.
Is that the thing, or
do you think the book is about it too?
To risk it all. There we go.
Wow.
I didn't see that, Wilson. Thank you. Yeah,
wow.
There we go. Yeah, so he won.
Oh my God,
he played Risk. He played Risk. He won it. He got to put up the board game on his wall, and then he wrote a book about it.
That's amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. By the way, everyone, if you hadn't yet, please hit the like button.
Thank you, Aaron.
Let's get this out, because when you hit the like button, right, that helps us more people see it.
Yeah, it helps the algorithm. Where are we at in likes? Wilson, where are we at?
669.
669, and we're at 1637. Oh my God, guys, like.
Yeah.
I know. Is this you guys liking? I mean, you guys messing with us, or is this actually YouTube suppressing us? I don't think they can suppress the likes. Guys, come on.
I like this Jim Reynolds comment though.
What's that?
Aaron's only played Peaceopoly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Peaceopoly. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Let's get to 1,000 likes, guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
813.
Yeah.
All right. Give it, everyone. If you've already thumbs up, don't do it again, because that dislikes. 830. Come on. I think we can get to 1,000. Let's see. Where are we at now?
Man, I can only imagine how emotional Risk is, because Risk is about world domination, right? And Monopoly is about owning some property in one city. And Monopoly, you remember Monopoly when it gets emotional when you lose. Someone takes all your shit. It's it's hard. So Risk, though, this is on a global scale. So I'm sure some friendships restrained over Risk, and maybe James Stavridis is that's like a shrine to the friends he lost, because he beat them in Risk.
Right. That could be a shrine to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Where are we at now?
912.
All right, guys. We're almost there. Guys, this is no game of Risk. This is a game of democracy. You let our corporate overlords win. Where are we at now?
927.
Oh my God. I shouldn't have said 1,000.
All right, well, let's get back to the video.
All right, we'll get back to it, but by the end of the next clip, we better be at 1,000.
It's going to be peaking off the charts.
Yeah.
When you hear what our esteemed panelists have to say about Ukraine.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going then.
Above all, they want to scare the Europeans. They want a cloud to hang over European thinking on this, pun intended.
Right. Mike, I want to talk about Putin's decision this week.
Wait, I didn't get the pun.
Cloud.
Oh, nuclear cloud.
Nuclear
okay.
cloud, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very good. All right.
Week to expand the size of his military, but not launch a draft. He continues to walk this line, it seems, for fear of upsetting his own population. But what does that say that he felt the need to find more troops?
I think first and foremost, it says, Chuck, that he has not won this war, that the strategic objectives that he outlined 6 months ago, he's failed on all of them. Remember, 6 months ago, he said he was going to unite Ukrainians and Russians because Ukrainians are just Russians with accents. He failed at that. He failed at denazification. He failed at demilitarization. He failed to take the capital of Kiev. And now he's just fighting in Donetsk.
All right, quick pause. See, this is where so many assumptions that are taken at face value in the U.S. media go unchallenged. When, look, I mean, I'm not a military strategist, but everything I've read,
a risk player.
Or a risk player, yeah, yes. I mean, like that's why. If only. But when McFaul assumes that Russia wanted to take Minsk, the pushback on that is that Russia never committed anywhere near the number of forces it would have actually required to take Kiev. And so they never wanted to take Kiev, and their approach towards Kiev was really just what's called a fake to make it look as if they wanted to, when really their aim was all along the Donbass, where there's been a civil war for the last 8 years between Russian speakers and the US-backed government. And that's what Russia wanted to resolve all along. And I don't know, what's true or not, but it's just taken at face value that Putin had these maximalist aims to conquer all of Ukraine when he never actually laid that out. I mean, he did talk about denazification. That's true. He did say that.
Yeah.
And that was, I think a silly thing to say in implying that all of Ukraine was sort of corrupted by Nazis when it's, there's one element of the military that is a neo-Nazi force. But this idea that like, all of Ukraine, when he said that, it gave the impression that all of Ukraine was Nazi, which is not true.
Right.
But this idea that he wanted to like take Kiev and that the war was supposed to end quickly. I mean, wars take a long time. I mean, the Afghanistan war took 20 years, and the U.S. ultimately left because they couldn't accomplish what they wanted. So this idea that Russia has failed, I think is dangerous because it gives the impression that Ukraine has a chance of winning, which I don't think they do. I just think that's just a recipe for more death on all sides. And I think it's used to basically undermine calls for diplomacy, which people like McFaul really do not want. They do want to see a peaceful resolution to the war.
Exactly. That's why they want it to be long, drawn out, and they want everyone to buckle down.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, I spoke for longer than McFaul did even there, but okay, let's hear more.
In Kherson, and now he needs to bring new troops just to fight in that stalemated situation. So on the strategic level, I think he's failed in this war. I don't see him recovering, but he still wants to focus on taking Donbass. That is his new objective, and he needs new soldiers to do that.
Mike, I want to stay with you a minute here and
how new of an objective is that
situation?
That's the thing. I think that's been the objective all along.
Yeah.
Russia never said they want to take all of Ukraine. They want to take Kiev. They said that they want to, their demands were an end to NATO expansion inside Ukraine, so a pledge that Ukraine stay neutral, a recognition of the separatist republics where the people have risen up over the last 8 years because they rejected the government that the U.S. helped install in 2014, the coup government. And they also want the world to recognize their control of Crimea. But that's a lot different than this idea that Russia wanted to conquer all of Ukraine.
Right. It's like, well, they didn't get to take over the world, so their new plan is the following. Yeah. All right. Let's keep going.
The car bombing of a political ally. There's all sorts of speculation. They're from false flag to a either unauthorized, authorized Ukrainian operation. But isn't the simplest explanation that maybe it's Russians unhappy? And if that's the case, how lethal is that to the future of Vladimir Putin?
Well, first, back to your earlier question, that's why you can't do a draft across the board, because that would make Russians unhappy. Second, we don't know who killed Daria Dugina. I want to be clear. There's lots of speculation about it. But immediately after she was attacked, a Russian partisan group, the National Republican Army, I'd never heard of them, Chuck, and I know all of these obscure groups in Russia, came out with a
because when I was there as the ambassador, I was funding them to try to bring regime change.
Yeah. So trust me. Trust me, I know them well.
I know them.
Yeah.
Manifesto saying that this was part of a partisan war to overthrow Putin. And then a former parliamentary, an MP, Ilya Ponomaryov is his name, the only Russian to vote against annexation of Crimea back in 2014, sitting in Kiev, published their manifesto. Again, I can't conclude that it's true or not, but the idea that it exists is a new development in this war.
Yeah, domestic problems. If this is being brought to Moscow, that has got to be troubling to Putin. Jim, let me go from the
There's
Ukrainian
something weird
side
about
of
the way
things.
he's saying that he doesn't know if
Winter
it's true.
is coming.
I feel like he really doesn't. He knows it's not true.
Oh, yeah, I think that's totally fair. Yeah. Yeah.
Because why would he be making such a disclaimer over something that would seem to be okay? They claimed that it was that they take responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's emphasizing that he doesn't know if it's true a little too much.
Yeah. Look, they really want to believe that Putin's in trouble when meanwhile, I mean, if the polls can be believed out of Russia, that he's still got overwhelming support for the war in Ukraine, which is surprising given that, a lot of people have died. A lot of Russians have been killed.
Right.
But they're looking for anything that can be used to push this narrative that now Putin's in trouble. His days are numbered because they really want to see regime change.
Yeah, I think he knows someone else did it. All right.
And I'm not just doing that to promote tonight.
Hold on, wait, we got to show what he says. Hold on.
The idea that it exists is a new development in this war.
Yeah, domestic problems. If this is being brought to Moscow, that has got to be troubling to Putin. Jim, let me go from the Ukrainian side of things. Winter is coming, and I'm not just doing that to promote tonight's next episode of House of Dragon. What does the Ukrainian military need to accomplish before winter sets in?
Well, if they could get a dragon and call Dockeries and flamethrow the Russians, that would be a big help. I don't think that's going to happen. What they need to accomplish is exactly what is happening. Take these excellent weapons we are giving them, not quite dragons, but HIMARS, long-range cruise missiles that can reach out and touch the Black Sea Fleet. Continue these behind enemy lines operations that are starting to look like shots out of Mission Impossible. The Ukrainian offensive, I think, is going to kick off in earnest after Labor Day, Chuck. They're aware that the world wakes up after Labor Day. They want to show they've got the ability to go on the offense. Look for that next.
The world wakes up after Labor Day, which is also when you can start wearing white again.
And what?
Or no, the opposite. You can't wear white. Sorry.
Yeah. Like what is this, like a halftime show?
Yeah.
Like in the second half, I expect them really to wake up and show them who they are.
Right.
You know,
with some dragons.
With some dragons. Yeah. I mean, you know, really appealing to the to the whatever it's called, Game of Thrones audience.
Yeah.
With that one. Yeah, look, they've been talking about this Ukrainian counteroffensive for a while. That, like, you know, all we need to do is send them some more weapons, and Ukraine's gonna launch the counteroffensive.
Right.
That's gonna turn the tide. And I just think all this, to me, it's just like it's a racket to justify enriching some more military contractors before the war inevitably ends and bleed some more Russians.
Right. They love bleeding Russians and Ukrainians.
And Ukraine, of course, foremost. Yeah. All right,
okay,
let's round this out.
Are we this is a final question to both of you. Mike, it seems as if the Russians are preparing for a years-long conflict. And Jim, it seems as if Ukraine knows they can't do years-long conflict. So, Mike, how do you view this? How do you see this ending? And then Jim, finally to you. So, Mike, you first.
That's right, Chuck. The Ukrainians don't want it to be a years-long conflict. It costs a lot, $5 billion a year they're getting from the West. They'll eventually run out of resources, military, these HIMARS that Admiral Stavridis was just talking about. That's why they want to go on the offensive in the south. The city of Kherson is what they want to take. They want to push the Russians out for the first time. With respect to the Russians, they think time's on their side, and they think the longer the war goes, it'll play to their advantage. And Putin right now is focusing on trying to take Donbass. What's striking to me, Chuck, is he's been focused on trying to take Donbass for 6 months and still hasn't achieved that objective. That says to me that maybe Putin is wrong about time being on his side.
Jim?
I'll pick up Ambassador McFall's points. I think he's right on. Above my head is the game of risk. Both sides are playing it. Putin, I think, has got a burn rate in people and equipment that is, frankly, higher than the Ukrainians. Ukrainians are going to count on patience from the West. I'll take that side of the game of risk, the one that the Ukrainians hold.
That is quite the signage that you have behind your head there. That's a cool, old school looking version of that game that for some of us was a staple between that and Stratego. Anyway, Jim Stavridis, Mike McFall, as always, appreciate both of you being on here and sharing your expertise.
Yeah, let's end on a funny note. Let's end this segment on potential nuclear war on a funny note.
Look, I don't know about you, Katie, but my response to him talking about the game of risk on his wall is, I would have said, why do you have a game of risk on your wall? You know, I would love to hear the answer to that.
Yeah.
But Chuck loves it. He wants one too. Maybe we'll get one in the Meet the Press studio next week.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
We should each get one, actually.
Let's do it. Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah. Or some other board game we really like.
What do you like? Candyland. I like Candyland.
Candyland was cool. The Game of Life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we are the game of life for people who watch. So we don't want to be gratuitous with that signage.
Too meta.
Yeah. Candyland was a great game, though. Yeah. It was so fun.
Yeah. Well, do you know how every single week we hear for some reason, the shows interview Adam Kinzinger, one of the Republicans?
Oh, wait. Are we doing that next? Aren't we going to
I'm sorry. You're right. I jumped ahead.
You got Trigger Happy.
My bad.
Kinzinger Happy. All right. Let's take a look at let's go to space, guys.
NASA, for the last
Nelson.
30 years, has had a pretty successful partnership with Russia. Obviously, seems to look like it's going to split up. You have been Mr. Optimism. You're basically, it seems as if you're ignoring the rhetoric and assuming as soon as the war is over, things will go back to normal. Why are you
Pause for a second, Wilson. I just want to set this up. Pause it. So this is NASA Administrator Bill Nelson, who's also a former senator. Okay.
That what Putin has done in Ukraine is inexcusable. It's a slaughter. It's awful. But we were squared off against each other with the Soviet Union in the Cold War. And yet we had American astronauts and Soviet cosmonauts rendezvoused and docked and lived together in Apollo-Soyuz in the midst of the Cold War, 1975. And that cooperative civilian space program relationship has continued all the way to this day. And despite the horrors that are going on in Ukraine, the professionalism, the relationship between the astronauts and the cosmonauts on board the International Space Station, as well as our 2 mission controls, one in Houston, one in Moscow, it doesn't miss a beat.
Still now, and there's still a crew exchange, correct?
And there's still a crew exchange. We've got an American astronaut going in 2 weeks on a Russian Soyuz rocket out of Baikonur, Kazakhstan. We've got a Russian female cosmonaut that's going on the next SpaceX that's going at the end of September.
He was an
and so we
astronaut
keep
too.
that crew exchange going because we need both up there to operate the International Space Station.
All right. So let's turn to China.
Uh-oh.
China's got an aggressive space program, and yet they seem.
Let me say about Russia quickly. I mean, one thing I would like to hear them say is, we also have a dating program going on between the Russian and American cosmonauts and astronauts, because when their governments blow up the world with their nuclear weapons, we're going to need people up in space to procreate, to launch the new Earth that we need to go look for.
It's called Over the Moon.
Exactly.
Dating.
Yeah. So this is an important program in more ways than one.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear about China.
Yeah.
To want nothing to do with anybody. Why is that?
Because they're very secretive. They don't want any kind of cooperation. They are non-transparent. They send their rockets to blast their ASAT, and they put all of this space junk that hinders.
Are they rushing things? Like when you watch them from afar, does it look like they're so insistent on trying to catch up to us that they're rushing it and cutting corners?
They're not cutting.
Oh, the projection is off the charts. Like China wants to be us so badly. Are they rushing things?
Are they rushing things? Yeah. And
do they have it? Do they have an inferiority complex? Are they insecure?
Right. Yeah. Are they messing up and because they just want to speed above quality?
Yeah.
And this is, as you can tell, Nelson's not a big fan of China, so this is kind of funny. Ready?
Corners, they are good.
They're not cutting corners, he says.
They've gotten a lot of the technology from everybody else.
Gotcha.
And as a result,
gotcha.
They're very good.
I was totally wrong.
But
okay, gotcha.
We have offered, come on and start cooperating with us. They just don't want to do that. And you see that as evidence in our government-to-government relations with the Chinese. You see that, for example, they go out and they take the Spratly Islands and say, this is our territory.
Well, how are we going to prevent?
Chuck's follow-up's like, okay, then can you tell me something then that will make me feel superior to China? That's what I'm looking to hear. Anything. Anything. Yeah. I mean, are our astronauts better looking? Are we happier? Anything, just something that could give me something to make me feel superior to China. Yeah.
Are we less, let's see, maybe, are we less, this is a joke, but maybe he's going to go for, are we less imperialist than they are?
Yeah, right. Yeah, sure.
All
anything.
Right? Now let's see what the answer is.
Yeah.
That from the moon? Because I was thinking about, is the moon going to turn into the South China Sea, where when China gets up there, we're up there? Is it going to be a land grab?
Well, we have to be careful about it.
The difference is that the South China Sea is around China. It's not around the U.S. And the U.S. is going across the world to be there. Whereas the moon, I mean, that's pretty much an equal distance from both countries.
Right. Are the Chinese going to hide their, have you seen the headlines about China hiding submarines in the South China Sea?
I haven't seen that. No.
That's pretty great.
Yeah. But I love that. What a weird analogy. Like the South China Sea is around China.
Yeah.
And we're there, what are we just accidentally there? We just bumped into them.
Is it going to be something else that belongs to us that the Chinese are stubbornly trying to keep hold of? Yeah. Ridiculous. All right, let's keep hearing this.
Oh, well, listen, Katie, we gotta wrap pretty soon.
Oh, you're right.
All
right.
We're so enthralled with this moon talk.
All right, so let's keep going.
Let's get to a few more. All right, so here we have former CIA director Michael Morell, who has fantasized about killing Russians and Iranians in Syria, who has defended torture, all these, and mass surveillance, all these wonderful things. Here he is now on CBS as a analyst and talking about Mar-a-Lago, the whole Trump classification document thing.
Morell, evaluate the affidavit for our audience, please.
Major, I had two reactions when I read it. The first was the fact that these documents were mixed in with unclassified documents. You had classified documents in the vast majority of the boxes. That suggested to me a sloppiness in the handling of classified documents at the White House. The two White Houses that I know best, the Bush White House and the Obama White House, there were very rigorous and strict protocols with regard to the handling of classified information.
Oh, yes, the Bush White House. So pristine in their handling of classified information, like where, for example, when Scooter Libby leaked the name of a CIA asset, Valerie Plame, to get back at her husband, Joe Wilson, who had challenged the Bush administration's Iraq WMD narrative. And that Iraq WMD narrative, by the way, was, of course, also based on pristine handling of classified information, which, of course, was all verified and not at all extracted through fraud and torture.
Right. Yeah, good point, Aaron.
It was records were kept, retrievals were made. That's what normally happens. That didn't happen in this case, sounds to me. The second thing that jumped out at me,
they kept records of intelligence on Saddam's WMDs, and at the Obama White House, they kept records on Gaddafi giving Viagra to his troops. That was one of the pretexts for the U.S. Destroying Libya. So, yes, we're really hearing from a voice of authority here.
Were the markings HCS, Human Control System, and SI, Special Intelligence. Human Control System means information from CIA spies.
He looks like Marty McFly.
And Special Intelligence means
He does look like Marty McFly.
Right?
Yeah, Crispin Glover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From
By the way,
Future.
you know what? If you watch Back to the Future 2, Crispin Glover, who played Marty McFly in the first person, he's not in Back to the Future 2.
Really?
Yeah, because they wouldn't pay because they didn't want to pay him enough money. So, but the actor they used looks like Crispin Glover, which I think is kind of, they're using his likeness.
Scab.
It is Scab. So
who is that actor? He's a scab. He's dead to me.
Well, it's I mean,
I guess we should feel bad for the scab too.
We should,
maybe.
yeah. I mean, it's tough to be a working actor, but also to fill the shoes of the original, George McFly, because what an amazing performance that was. Anyway, back to the current George McFly.
Yeah, back to the present.
From technical operations of the National Security Agency. This is the most sensitive material of the United States intelligence community.
Yes, Katie. Well, again, we're going to be hearing about this for, I don't know, 6 months, 12 months. Documents, classification markings, compartmentalized rooms, facilities. This is going to be the top scandal. So exciting.
So
legal privilege, all this exciting legal jargon that nobody cares about except for legal scholars and former intelligence bureaucrats.
So fun.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Yeah. So we want a preview of what it may sound like?
Sure. Yeah.
With pins?
Sure.
Let's go.
Oh, yes.
It wouldn't be a regular show.
Yes. Well, this is what I was saying before. This guy, I don't know, there's something written into his contract to be a Congress member where he has to appear every single week on one of the shows. He doesn't take a break.
They use the hashtag. I was looking at their YouTube clip, and whenever he's on, they use Adam Kinzinger as a hashtag, which they don't do with all guests.
Why?
I guess he kills in ratings, maybe.
Yeah.
The SEO loves him.
Comes to what you guys are getting ready to lay out to the public in September. Can you give us a sense of what are the missing pieces that you didn't have that you feel like the public is going to understand better come September?
Well, I think the missing piece, I think there's going to be a lot of depth that we're able to build, whether it's through these hearings or whether it's through the final report. So if you think about, for instance, the last hearing, the one Elaine Luria and I did, we talked about what was the president doing during the 187 minutes. Well, we did basically an hour and a half hearing. We probably could have done one that was 4 or 5. So there'll be more depth to some of that. Some of the leaks.
He's speaking like a film director.
I know.
He's speaking we did like a 45-minute cut of the film, but I think we have more material. We have some great scenes we cut, so we're gonna get more depth.
Yeah, more
texture to the production.
Depth of focus.
Mm-hmm. different camera angles, experimenting with light, aperture. He's an auteur, really.
He is an auteur, yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the more intriguing thing is going to be some of the financing, right? Some of the fundraising, the fact that, you know, a vast majority of this money was raised and under quote unquote stop the steal with no intention of doing anything to stop so-called stop a steal. It was all about just raising money, and people were abused that way. And so there's going to be a lot more of that. And I think
well, that's true. Oh, sorry, I just skipped it back. That is true. That's actually true that Trump ripped off his supporters by getting them to donate to stop the steal. All right, good. That's actually something. But again, the whole point of this was to uncover some smoking gun where Trump was plotting to overthrow the U.S. government with an armed revolt on Congress. And that is the part that hasn't come, because just like, you know, the whole like Russiagate, they're maximalist aims here. I mean, what he did already is bad enough. Like, he incited a riot. He fabricated all these claims about election being stolen, but they don't stop at that. Now they want to find something deeper, and I think they're going to come up short on that front.
I don't know. There's going to be a lot of depth.
A lot of yeah. Well,
all right, we got to wrap, right? Because we got to jump on Colin.
We got to wrap. Yeah, I'd say there was some depth to this show.
There was a lot of depth.
Even though we lost our creative, our muse, Brian Stelter.
Our muse, yeah. Well, guys, make sure that you support the show and get extra extended interviews at usefulidiots.substack.com. Great interview with Papa Noam Chomsky. And we're going to see right now on Colin. And the link to that Colin is in the description, the YouTube description.
And give the stream a like if you haven't yet.
Yes,
before you
if
go.
you haven't already. Yeah. All righty. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.